Today is the 80th anniversary of D-Day, but I am asking, did Rishi Sunak let our war heroes down? Sunak attended events in Normandy, including speaking at the prominent British ceremony, but he left before the major gathering of world leaders with veterans at Omaha Beach so he could go home and campaign, and as it turns out as well, quite possibly just talk to ITV. This meant that Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer was left mingling with the likes of Emmanuel Macron, President Joe Biden and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz.
Today's event has been moving and powerful, and it's truly a privilege to be here on behalf of the Labour Party to give our tribute to and pay our respects to the armed services, our armed forces, and in particular to remember those involved in D-Day.
Yeah, and obviously we couldn't talk to Rishi Sunak there because he'd left. Nigel Farage made his views clear, tweeting, "The Prime Minister has ducked out of the International D-Day event to fly back to the UK to campaign. I am here in Normandy in a personal capacity because I think it matters." Does he? Well, today, the three, shall we say, more established parties used D-Day as the chance to launch veterans' policies. The Conservatives say that they would cut the cost of veterans' rail cards by a third and keep in place tax breaks for employers of veterans. Labour have committed to setting up a new commissioner to speak for members of the armed forces, which, considering they've actually already got an armed forces minister, does beg the question what his job is. But the Liberal Democrats are promising to improve Ministry of Defence housing as well. But for me, the question is this. Did Rishi Sunak make a massive mistake leaving Sir Keir Starmer to grandstand on the world stage? But more than that, did he disrespect our fallen heroes by leaving so he could campaign at this election? Let's get the thoughts of my panel now. Conservative peer Lord Bailey. I've got political commentator Suzanne Evans. I have also got ex-Labour Party advisor Matthew Larser. Talking of advisors, Shaun, I tell you what, whoever advised Rishi Sunak to leave the International D-Day ceremony to go back and possibly speak to ITV and knock on a couple of doors want to sack him, don't they?
I'm afraid you're right. Look, there's two ways to look at this. You're in the middle of a campaign, you want to make a big impact. The best impact you could make at this point is being seen on the world stage with the biggest leaders in the world. That's probably the way to go. On top of that, you have possibly the biggest event in the last 100 years that they're celebrating. You should be there. It sends a message. It's ironic. When you listen to Nigel's message, that is probably the question that people ask themselves. And the Prime Minister could have answered that by being there. I think it was a mistake to leave.
Yeah, I mean, there is a stark contrast between some of the now very elderly individuals that we saw there that we were all paying our respects to, you know, who were prepared in one way or the other to make the ultimate sacrifice for this country. And I don't want to put too fine a point on it, but I thought we had a Prime Minister there who, it appears to me, has put his own personal gain of what might end up being a handful of votes, if that, over being there to pay his respects for them, maybe.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. I think Rishi doesn't want to win this election. And I said that as soon as he called the election. I thought, this guy's had enough. He's had the most terrible time as Prime Minister, dreadful cost of living crisis, tax burden at an 80-year high very nearly, record NHS waiting lists, failed to stop the boats, can't get any flights off to Rwanda, 20 points behind in the polls. I think he said, that's it, I'm done. I've ticked the box, I've done the top job in the country, I've made a complete hash of it, but, you know, I could go back to living the good life. And let's face it, this guy is richer than the king. He could have a very good life.
Well, you know, look, the other side of it, the other side of it is that, you know, maybe he thought that he could win a few more votes and that might keep him in a job. You know, Matthew, I will put this to you, that Rishi Sunak might have been foolish, but at least he's not lying to us. You've got Keir Starmer there, grandstanding on the world stage. He used to want to abolish the monarchy. He's been pictured with the king. And then on top of that, you've got him there talking about what a great thing, you know, the war was, all of this stuff, and then saying, he would have got rid of nukes, wouldn't he? Wasn't that not long ago?
No. I mean, look, I mean, Labour. I mean, you know, come on, Patrick. We shouldn't be playing politics about D-Day, and we wouldn't be if the Prime Minister hadn't just insulted not only every veteran, but also I just think the whole of our country. I mean, I'm literally astounded that this happened. Can you imagine Mrs. Thatcher doing this.
Oh, she'd never have done that.
I mean, Mrs. Thatcher in the 1987 election she was accused of, she went to Moscow in the middle of the campaign, but she was Prime Minister. She was on the world stage. And love ITV, though, we all do. The thought that you're going to not do this once in a lifetime. I mean, as you said earlier, Patrick, this is such an important anniversary because it realistically is the last anniversary of the D-Day landings you're actually going to have veterans out.
Again, I happen to agree he should have been there, but it's interesting hearing the Labour Party talk about the armed forces when I remember they've had Labour governments that didn't even have an armed forces officer, minister, so it feels slightly disingenuous.
Conservative government.
Yeah, I think it's a new thing.
But the point I want to make, the most important thing, and this is what I'd like to see any government do, I'm disappointed that schools weren't involved in these celebrations and universities as well, because we have a young generation now who have no understanding of our history. They hate the country, and I think it's because people are not presenting them with these opportunities to understand what this country has actually done.
I mean, Suzanne, you said about Rishi wanting to lose the election. Of course, let's remind ourselves, this isn't an election imposed on Rishi. He knew that D-Day would fall in the middle, the D-Day commemorations would fall in the middle of the campaign, and yet he chose to go ahead with this date. One of the things Labour actually was against, Labour wanted an election, but not on this date, was because they knew it would, that the D-Day commemorations would happen in the middle.
Because they weren't ready.
Well, no, I mean, at least we had the candidates in place.
Sorry, if you're in a Labour Party, make your mind up. Do you want this election or not?
But I also think
for years you get it, and then you find every reason why it shouldn't.
I'm not. Well, look, we've got it, but we wouldn't have had it on this date because I think it's very, very important that as a nation we come together to commemorate. Do you remember when Michael? I mean, Suzanne and I are old enough to remember when Michael Foot turned up at Remembrance Day in what was seen as a donkey jacket, and that became a major issue. I'm astounded, actually. Good on GB News for raising this story because the mainstream media have ignored the fact that the Prime Minister left David Cameron to be on the world stage for us.
The other thing I will say about this, which is that ITV News and Paul Brand, who's one of their political top dogs there, have put out on Twitter moments ago a clip of an interview with Rishi Sunak that, as far as I can tell, appears to have been recorded today, that I think is from what I can gather here, is airing next week. I mean, there could be the other dimensions that Rishi Sunak may well have left those Normandy beaches there with war heroes on to go and be interviewed by the bloke who brought down Boris Johnson with the Partygate report. I mean, this is unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
My breath is literally I'm literally flabbergasted that he's done this.
And as I say, I just don't think he cares anymore. He's given up. He's going to pass the buck. He knows he's not going to win. He doesn't care. But what's so shocking is that he cannot even summon up half an hour to go and stay with people who are
the reason I believe he does want to win, because remember, he lost to Liz. If he could have checked out then and nobody been under wiser.
He should have left her in place.
The point is,
she'd have been a proper Prime Minister who actually cared about Britain.
He took her on, so I'm believing he has the desire. And also, he's done an awful lot of work. He has moved the economy along. He has started a Rwanda process. He has.
He has the national debts at 90%.
He's about to come third, Shaun.
GDP.
Of course.
He try and cut it. He has.
Of course. He's in the middle of doing that. He's in the middle of doing that piece of work, and I believe as an individual he wants to complete that. So I do think he wants to win. And on top of all that, even if he doesn't, I can guarantee you the party wants to win. Those Conservative MPs are desperate to win.
Those Conservative MPs must be really angry tonight.
How many of them have actually quit now? Is it heading for 90?
And look, if you're a Tory MP...
Sorry, final word.
If you're a Tory MP, you must be absolutely livid tonight. Every MP, no matter what party you're from, Remembrance Sunday, you put in your diary, it is the one immovable commitment of the year. It's not about party politics, and his absence has turned it into being about party politics, and he's let our country down.
If you're a Labour MP, you'd be furious at how poorly Keir Starmer did in the debate. You know what I mean?
This isn't about the debate. This is about remembering our D-Day veterans and showing respect to people without whose sacrifices we wouldn't be here having these arguments.
I hope you remember those words.
Are we diminished on the world stage because Sunak left early, do you think, Suzanne?
I think probably yes.
Yes.